session, and we're going to talk about the dynamics of and then do a practice session working our first still point session. We deliberately put it here because it's integrating for anything that's got stirred up in the first few days. Usually around this time, Thursday afternoon, we try and do a session which brings everything to ground. Yeah. So we're actually going to be working from the sacrum this afternoon and the feet, which basically just helps everything settle, and anything that has been stirred up just comes, you feel a bit more grounded so that you go out. Yeah. So that's partly why that's in place. And then next time we'll continue with the still point theme. It's sort of ongoing discussion really over the next few seminars. So let's start off with a little bit of a sitting practice again, just for a few minutes. So just getting yourself settled. So just sitting with your midline, first of all, and sense of ground. And by now, it's very familiar for you to let your thoughts settle, come into your body and sensation, no matter what's happening there, whether there's discomfort or whether there's ease. Just that relationship you have with physical sensation, becoming familiar with your own body, your own heart. Just see if you can start to, as you settle into your resources, just allow yourself to be enfolded by that quality of stillness that starts to arise. Think of it as a shawl that wraps around you and enfolds you. Deepen into that stillness, letting yourself be nourished and supported by that quality within your body and around your body. So in this moment, nothing to say, nothing to do, just the present moment. And settling a little bit deeper into that. Again, feeling the support in your body of that stillness. And slowly becoming aware again of the room, the space around you. Feeling the connectedness between us and also the space. Slowly making that transition to move around you, open your eyes. Stretch. So is everyone okay if we go on for a little bit? Yeah. Right. Doing really well. I'm really impressed. Really, really well. It's great. So, dynamic stillness. It's a very big concept in the work. This beginning of understanding a little bit about it. And the lovely thing about the understanding of dynamic stillness that's come from the tradition of Sutherland and Becker and Franklin and all the other people who've contributed to the work is that it comes from experience. So it comes from doing the work, it comes from clinical practice, it comes from practitioners working over and over again with thousands of patients and then coming back to these basic concepts, from that clinical place. And that wonderful moment that Becker describes in one of his books where he'd seen thousands and thousands of patients as an osteopathic practitioner. And I think it was something like 5,000 patients over years and years and years. And he decided to stop doing anything. So there was a moment in his career where he made that decision to continue to see people, but to not do anything, to stop doing any mechanical work, to stop trying to fix things, to stop trying to diagnose things. And he started a research in his own life's work on just being present with the client, and continued to do that over many, many years from that moment onwards. That takes huge courage to stop doing anything and to trust that, first of all, people will continue to come to you, and that, something will continue to help and improve in their system from doing that. Yeah. So he did that from that place of a really experienced practitioner and a really successful practitioner as well. And then he stopped doing anything and he just started to be in that relational field and let the inherent treatment plan unfold from that place of stillness. And then his book's actually written from that research and what unfolded for him, what he started to feel in that reciprocal relationship of not doing came from that. So I'm constantly, I still find myself trying to do things and trying to fix things, and even if it's just a mental current, it's like, I'd love to help that person, I'm sure that would help. And it's just the nature of the mind is to try and fix things. And the nature of the mind is to try and understand things, is to try and give meaning to things as well. And the whole tradition of this work is that we drop underneath that, and start to trust those deeper forces both in yourself and in your client. It's hugely challenging, and it's not only hugely challenging for you at the beginning of that journey, it's continually hugely challenging to be with that. So just to say, it never stops, the challenge never stops as a practitioner. I find myself in that all the time. And I was sitting at lunchtime thinking, feeling really nervous. I've talked about and thought about and been in the research in dynamic stillness for years, and suddenly I felt all of that, oh my God, being completely in awe of what can you say about dynamic stillness? It's indescribable, something about the qualities that we start to experience in ourselves, in our clients, in our own bodies, which is utterly indescribable. And quite a few of you have already started to touch those places where your heart opens and you're in awe of what you're sensing, what you're feeling, and there's a reciprocal field where you're receiving it as well. So, as the session unfolds and you drop into these deeper and deeper places, you're receiving that energy as well. You're actually being touched by that in your own system. So you can't just do the practice and go home and not be moved. That's my experience. It's like, I'm blown out sometimes by what people, adults, but even more so babies. See a lot of really little babies, and they're in dynamic stillness. Their whole field in a newborn and a young baby is that long tide field, that field of stillness, field of pure consciousness. They haven't got conditioned. They're not in defense. They're not in protection, hopefully, even if they've had difficult births. Even if they've had difficult births, it's not difficult to be in that place with them because it's so close to their experience of being in the womb. So I'm sure that's why I love to spend the majority of my practice time with little ones, because they carry the qualities of dynamic stillness and pure consciousness in their field. They are in it, and it's natural to them. So therefore, being around them, you become it. And you just you share that together with them. It's so wonderful, and I'm constantly in awe of that. They're being brought by the parents to have something, get them fixed or help them feed better or help them sleep better or whatever the agenda is. And actually, God, I go in the waiting room, it's like, oh God, another one of those babies, and just take one look and my heart just blows open. It's such a gift. And for the parents too, they see that you just completely fall in love with their baby, right from that first second. Because there's the way we listen is very respectful to them, very allowing to them. And the parents really feel that the quality of receptivity is there when you meet with their child. There's no trying to do, there's no trying to fix. So they're very, and it's true with adults as well, but I feel it profoundly with little ones, and I'm constantly moved by that experience as well. So it really reminds me about what dynamic stillness holds, and what amazing healing can take place in that realm, if you like. So in the cranial concept, basically over the next 2 years, we're going to learn loads and loads of different ways of relating to the body, to the tissues, to the fluids, to specific cranial bones, to maybe to some extent to the organs a little bit. We're going to learn birth dynamics, and then you put it all to one side, and the work actually becomes working with states of stillness. But when something arises, you can take out of your tool bag something very particular that you need in that moment. So if you didn't have all of that learning and that education, you wouldn't be able to meet what arose. You can't just work with states of stillness. Does that make sense? But just to say, in the end, we just come into relationship with deeper and deeper states of stillness, and trust that that's what does the work. It is a mystery. We never know what's going to happen as people drop into that place. And very often in sessions, I don't know what's happening. As a practitioner, I don't know what's happening. Have a sense sometimes of things unfolding. I feel things changing, but I couldn't necessarily describe to that client, and they want to know very often what happened, what changed, what did you do. It's very hard to find words for it, but I do have an innate trust in that if the client drops into those places of really profound stillness, I know there's something will really deeply change for that person, physically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. I know that. It's like you cannot go enter a relationship with those places without something shifting in you. But I don't know how that will unfold for that person. I don't know what will change. I don't know if their physical symptoms will change. I have no idea. But I do trust that as their system settles into this states of stillness, varying different states of stillness, something will really profoundly change for that person. And very often it's astounding, actually. Somebody said the other day, it may not be comfortable as well. That's also, so change is not always comfortable. Change can sometimes be painful, or you feel the resistance to it as well. So it's not always comfortable, but trusting that as change is in place, that person is making progress in the way that they need to in their own life, which we actually can't know. I have a patient who drives me crazy at times, and certainly has in the past, and she's actually become one of my greatest gifts as I've worked with her over the years. And she often says to me at the end of the session, "How am I? How am I? How am I? What's happening in my body? And what can you feel?" I'm like, God. And constantly trying to bring her back to her belief in her body and her experience of her own body and her trust in her own system as well. She's constantly handing that out to that power away, constantly trying to hand it back. She's still not really got it after 3 years in therapeutic work, but she still comes back. She experiences something changes. She has very, very deep ME type symptoms. We go to some very, very still places sometimes, and she stops talking. She wants me to stop talking. She wants to experience what she's feeling in the body, and she's really touched by that. And it takes her a while to come back sometimes. She finds that transition really difficult. So I just trust that that's what she needs. That's the work's happening on that level, and the level that her system needs to work. So in cranial work, we talk about, you'll hear mentioned a lot, still points. So we're going to work a little bit with still points this afternoon, and a still point is something that we can help the system to help initiate in the body of the client we're working with, if they're not able to settle into stillness. So for some people, it's not easy to settle. Yeah, there's so many conditioned patterns, there's so much resistance and tension in the body. The mind is really disturbed. They're not used to being in therapeutic relationship with the body. So it's easier for us already to settle and deepen. But for a lot of clients, it isn't. I find over and over, there may be, for many people, they never have a moment of stillness in the whole day. From the minute they get up to the minute they go to bed. Isn't that astonishing? Yeah. That, there's a rev, there's always something, there's an agitation, yeah, if you like. And this work teaches us to take pauses. It teaches us to relate to space, teaches us to relate to stopping, resting, becoming still, yeah. And after a while, you can't help but do that because your system prefers that, or somehow gains balance from taking those pauses, yeah. So, but for some of the clients, that doesn't happen easily, yeah. So still point is a way of assisting their system to settle and deepen, yeah. I'll talk a little bit more about how we do that and how we invite that to happen. So that's still points. We talk about an inhalation still point and an exhalation still point. So this afternoon we're going to explore exhalation still point, and next time inhalation still point, and the different reasons for working with either of those. But just a little bit about stillness itself. In every spiritual tradition, there's a wealth of information and understanding and writings on prayer, stillness, relationship to the inner world. I love the cloud of unknowing. I don't know if any of you have read from that, one of the early Christian mystics, and it describes the cloud of unknowing of being that place where in the silence it enters into relationship with the cloud of unknowing, which is almost like a person, yeah, and what unfolds from the relationship with that cloud of unknowing. But it's like stillness, within the depth of stillness, somehow there's always a quality of what is it? Not unraveling. Of really having to surrender and let go of the known. Yeah. So we keep ourselves really safe. We keep ourselves really with familiar, really with, what we know, what we feel safe with, the people we feel safe with. But always as you enter into stillness, it necessarily will take you into a place where you don't know. You don't necessarily have ground. You have no idea what will unfold from here. Yeah. So it takes you to that edge of, oh my God, yeah. And in that place, there has to be a surrender for you to actually deepen into that place. Yeah. So how many of you felt that moment where you feel the edge, you think, oh no, I'm not going there. Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Ah, okay. It's really common. It's really common. You felt that too. Yeah. And you absolutely, yeah, okay, good, great, we're running up. We all feel it at times. It's part of our psyche, is to come to the edge and go, no, I don't want to go there. Yeah. The wonderful thing is you'll keep coming back. Your deepest psyche, the deepest core of your spirit will always take you back to that edge and say, okay, here you are, we're here again. Are you going to surrender this time? Or are you going to resist this time? Yeah? Okay, don't worry, we'll go away again. Come round again. Here we are again. Are you going to surrender this time? Are you going to resist this time? So the wonderful thing is you keep coming back. Keep coming back. Keep coming back. Same place. But eventually, something in you, that deeper part of that deeper intelligence will just soften in you, and you'll then go into that place where the unknown starts to arise. Yeah, in a place of profound stillness where you may never have been before as well. And something will start to change. So those moments will constantly arise in practice, and they'll constantly arise with your clients too. So it's a really good idea to get some experience of that, because your clients will go there. Yeah, your clients their systems will lead you there. So if you're familiar with that in your own system, it's much easier to be with that in somebody else's system as well. So you know what that feels like, that, oh my God, no. Can I really let go this time? Do I really feel safe? Do I trust this person? Do I trust my own body? Yeah, can I really surrender the patterns of known that I've been in before? Yeah. So our own experience is the ground for, and we know that in the work there's a resonance. So the deeper you experience stillness in yourself, the deeper the client system will resonate with that. So it's unspoken. So if you know that, I mean, you've been around a lot of monastic and strong monastic tradition, and just go and sit with a monk who's been in those profound states for years and years and years, and nothing needs to happen. You know, you're with that person, your system settles and becomes still, and you feel blissful. You think, I made it. It's wonderful. All my practice has worked. And then you go away and go and sit again in the room and think, I'm really going to experience it. And it's not there anymore. It was part of their field that actually allowed your system to drop. And then back to your own system, and you're with your own conditioned patterns, and another 2 years of meditation practice before you actually get there again. But the wonderful thing is that once you've been there, once you've dropped into those places of stillness, you will find your way back. At some point you'll find your way back. It's completely natural for the system to return back to stillness. Yeah. So stillness is a completely natural place. It's effortless. Definitely not about effort, definitely not about control. It's definitely not even about wanting it. It's about relaxation, surrender, courage. Courage to... we had a nice image yesterday about not dropping over the end of the cliff, but just, like I said, not the end of the cliff, not going over the end of the cliff. It's more like the top of a rolling hill, of a soft green rolling hill, and then just going on the other side. It's a really different image. I like the cliff because I'm quite extreme in my own psyche. It's like, let's do the cliff. Where you stand on the edge and you go, am I going? Whoa, oh, I've got wings. There's a lovely card in the Osho pack, which is exactly that. It's someone standing on the end of the cliff and then jumping off and flying, and it says at the bottom, oh, go on, it's really mushy and pink when you let go. Something like that. It's like the enticement of of what is about to come, what is coming towards you. Yeah, it's enough for some people to go over the edge. So the soft green rolling hill is also lovely. So the important thing, cranial concept is in stillness, something really important happens in terms of the connection to the breath of life and potency. So it's from those places of stillness that the system starts to make, or reconnect with the potency of the breath of life. Yeah, and that inherent health that arises from those places. So as you drop into stillness and the breath of life starts to arise and there's a connection to potency, the system then is gathering resources. Yeah. So it drops into those places and gathers potency and resources and brings that back. So it's a place where the system is becoming more potentized, is gathering healing resources to use and, for whatever needs to happen in body and psyche. So the power of the breath of the life is rooted in stillness. We already know that. Stillness also liberates the potency of the breath of life. Yeah. So as the body drops into those still places, it's gathering and reuniting with that natural force of potency. Yeah. Just making sure I'm not missing anything here. The breath of life has a very fiery quality, and we've talked a little bit about what happens at conception, ignition. You could call this ignition when the egg and the sperm come together. It's very fiery, yeah. And the breath of life, as you drop into stillness and you start to experience some of the qualities of stillness, it often has a very fiery quality, very subtle fiery quality, as the system reconnects the breath of life. Yeah. So there are many qualities experienced in dynamic stillness, but very often it's that sparkling, fiery quality that starts to arise from that place, and then arise and come through into the long tide and mid tide, so that the body can actually use that potency and fire for healing. So that the breath of life, that intelligence, it speaks. Yeah, it gets harder to talk about it. It's really interesting because I can actually feel my own system igniting as I talk about it. It's very fiery. It's a mysterious place, I have to say. That's so difficult talking about it. Okay, I think maybe I'll just a couple of really lovely little quotes here. You may have heard of the Desiderato, which is I think it's an early Christian text, and it says, "Be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labours and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace within your soul. In stillness, something is surrendering, and something is being reborn." So it's essential to go to that place of stillness for something new to arise, something new to ignite. What you can feel within you, and this is very, very natural in all of us, what you can feel within you is the stillness of your being. Be patient. Patience is the beginning of stillness. If we try and bring about a result, we can't be still. So this is important for us as cranial practitioners. Stillness is not a result, but a process. And from that stillness, clarity arises. Yeah. So you can't make stillness happen. But what you can do is invite that stillness in your own system, become familiar with that place of stillness in your own system, and then as you come in contact with another, they will resonate with that place in you. Does that make sense? So if you're all agitated and anxious and struggling and you've got pain in your body, it's really hard to do a session from that place. Yeah, you've got to put that out of the way. And constantly try and find a place in you where there's some space. Yeah, and get some experience of those still places within your own system. So when you put your hands on somebody else, they will just drop. Yeah, you probably all know from your own cranial practitioner, from the professional sessions that you've had, when you go to another practitioner and they put their hands on, you drop into those places you may never have experienced before. It happens quite quickly, doesn't it? You find that you start exploring places because they're familiar with those places in their own body. The more they've worked, the more they're familiar with those places. Yeah. So when they put the hands on you, your system goes, here's like this morning when Franklin puts hands on me, I go, here's an opportunity of doing some work, even for 5 minutes. Sort out that left sacroiliac joint and whatever else is happening. Yeah, it's the body can't help but do that when the hands of an experienced person come in and you feel really safe instinctively. We know each other quite well. You know, I go, I can't stop my body from working. I can't stop my body from taking that opportunity because the resonance is there between us. Yeah. And it just happens spontaneously as well. Okay. So, let's talk a little bit about still points. So, in the work, so if a person's system, you're already, all of you, experiencing qualities of stillness. Some of you are dropping into the long tide when you're working already. You know, you put your hands on and you just drop, yeah, because you're starting to trust each other. But if someone that you're working with, and you're likely to encounter this in the next 2 months, if their system isn't able to settle, how can you help them to drop down a little bit deeper under that CRI level? Yeah, and more down to that mid-tide level. So what tools have you got already that will help them to settle? Felt resources. So teaching them to have a relationship to the body which is not about pain, which is not about suffering, which is about space, connection, warmth. Yeah. So that's the beginning with every single person. And they won't think you're strange. Yeah, it's just not the way we're taught in this society. But if a person only comes once to you and you teach them felt resources, you've given them a huge gift, because at some point they'll go away and use that. So that starts them relating to the health in their body rather than the dysfunction or disease. It starts their relationship to health, to space, to something different from the suffering that they've come in with. What else would help them to settle and become more still that you've learned already? Yeah, your ground as a practitioner. So as you root and you ground and you settle and you actually settle into your slower rhythm as well, they will already start to feel that.
Yeah, I've really noticed that actually.
Sorry?
I've really noticed that
Yes.
my own tension as in front,
Yeah. It's automatic. There's an automatic resonance with what you do. So as you ground, you settle, you establish your fulcrums, they already start to drop under the CRI. Yeah. Anything else? And then what's the next level of that settling? So the next level is the relational field, because as the relational field, their system's doing what it's doing, your system's doing what it's doing. But as you come together, there's a unification that starts to happen. Yeah. So that's already, again, inviting them into a place of settling and stillness. Yeah, that unification, that third field that starts to arise as the relational field settles. And we'll talk more about that next time. It's something about what's called the holistic shift. And then, as you in yourself as a practitioner settle into maybe mid-tide, maybe long tide in your own system, whatever you're comfortable with, and get some experience of what that feels like inside your body as well, then you can invite that connection to in the other person's system. They'll start to drop down to that place without knowing that's happening. And I have a lot of clients that talk a lot and want to talk a lot, and sometimes it's helpful and sometimes it's not. And sometimes I'll just let it run and keep the contact with them, the settling with them, and eventually it'll slow down. And sometimes I actually ask people to stop talking if it feels like it's really a diversion. But you have to be sensitive to that, and sometimes people can't stop initially. But there will be a moment in the session where speaking stops, and especially when those deeper tidal expressions start to unfold, it's very hard to talk, isn't it? If you experience that here, you go into a non-verbal space. Dynamic stillness is a totally non-verbal space. It's really hard to retrieve language from that place. It's really hard to find words to describe that place, because it's always taking you back to that prenatal state, really, before language is formed. Yeah.
I notice some people I hate them in the beginning.
Yeah.
They feel sleep. And sometimes full of heart, and then when they wake up, I go, did you feel anything? Did you really? Just no, I don't feel anything. But it's the ability of the healing let them go deeper sleep, but they don't know that.
Yeah. We talked about that yesterday, that sometimes that's okay for people to sleep. A profound sleep is very restful and what they need, but there may be a moment in the work you're doing with them where you need them to stay alert with you. You need their attention, you need their consciousness with you. And it will be a fight. Once they're not so exhausted, they will have more resources to stay awake. Falling asleep is usually because the system's exhausted, and it's just needing to drop to that place. Yeah.
Just the question that happens is the resonance. How does that change?
When somebody's asleep, things are still happening. You can still work. Yeah. I work with babies a lot when they're asleep. Still ask permission. Still work. Constantly working with permission through the session. And sometimes, if a baby's not comfortable with something, they'll suddenly wake up. Just at that moment, you think, no, that's not okay. Don't put your hand there. Yeah, so there's absolutely a consciousness there within sleep. Yeah. But just be aware that if it's a habit for clients, then, by the fourth session, they've got more resources, there's maybe a bit more potency. It would be really helpful if they didn't fall asleep, if they actually stayed with you, so that you can work together with them, with their sensation level. Yeah. And I think, probably more work happens on that level.
It's not sleep as they are so relaxed and deep.
Yeah.
They feel.
Yep.
Or then they are sleep.
So that's the non-verbal run. Yeah. Where you can't speak.
No.
You can't. You're out of language. You're in a different level of mind, which is entering dynamic stillness, really. Yeah. And when you come back, it's not necessarily easy to describe what happened as well. Yeah. So you start to trust those levels. That's lovely when that happens. So what we're going to work with this afternoon is how to help a person's system settle when that doesn't happen naturally. Yeah. Where, there's a lot of discomfort and disease in their system, and they need help with that. So one of the ways we do that, and the really, we constantly use still point process until someone's system can naturally resource itself. Yeah, and that might take 4 or 5 sessions for that to happen. So we talk about an exhalation still point, which is what we're going to work with this afternoon. So there's an experience, as we experience the tidal, mid-tide inhalation surge and exhalation receding. One of the ways to invite the system to still and settle is at the end of the surge of primary respiration, you encourage the system to pause. Yeah. So some of you experience there is a pause between the inhalation surge and the exhalation surge. It's like you come, the tidal fluctuation comes up and out, it's widening, and then there's a pause. Yeah. So at the end of exhalation, as the system recedes, we're going to invite the system to pause at the end of that exhalation phase. And for some of you that's already happened. Has anyone, I've certainly felt at the table as that's happened, where someone's system has done an inhale and stopped. Yeah, okay, you felt. Somebody I was working with yesterday that happened, they did an exhale and it stopped. And then it waited and it waited and it waited and built potency, and then something came and the tide arose again. Yeah. So that's doing it naturally. You're not even inviting it, it's just happening. So the system has that intelligence where it will just do that. The tide will exhale and just stop. But if it's not able to do that, and you're still feeling the CRI level really strongly, then by inviting a stillness at the end of exhalation, can you still, can you settle, can you pause? Then the system will start to drop and access that deeper layer of potency. And deeper layer of stillness where it starts to reconnect to breath of life. And that inherent healing force will start to come through from that. So a still point could be 2 seconds, 5 seconds, or it could be 20 minutes. It's as long as a piece of string, yeah. So, I mean, if you drop into dynamic stillness, the whole session will be just in dynamic stillness, yeah. Remember, nothing's happening in dynamic stillness, you know. Within that stillness is huge potency and potential. And you start to get really familiar with what happens and what you feel in that quality of stillness is potential building. I think some of you have already started to feel that too. A feeling of something building, a feeling of something filling, feeling of something sparking. It's really, really alive in that dynamic stillness. You might even feel the cells starting to become more active, you know, on a really deeply cellular level of the body. Something's really awakening in there as well. You might see colours, you might see lightning flashes. I see spirals a lot. And, you know, so you will all receive information in a different way. But just be aware that such richness and potency in those still places. And we try and help students reframe and say, there's nothing happening. Nothing happening. There's nothing happening in this person's system. It's like, you know, maybe there's just the system's really still, really settled. And in that stillness there's a huge amount happening. There's a huge amount of potential and a huge amount of gathering of reserves. It's very therapeutic. You have more energy when your system's been in those still places. You're gathering energy and potency that then is feeding your nervous system, feeding your tissues and cells. Yeah, it's providing healing at a very, very deep level. And you may well feel that after you've left KARUNA. Initially, very tired, you know, the first couple of days when you go home. And then, you know, hopefully something else happens because you've been visiting these places of really profound stillness. So your system is actually realigning around, in a way, different fulcrums, yeah. So there's a lot of potential for change and healing and more vitality in your own life as well. We see huge differences in students over the 2 years from now until the end of the seminar, in terms of health and well-being. You can really see it physically, can't you, in people's faces, and sort of robustness starts to come through as you really connect that healing potency. It's exciting.
Can I?
Yeah, of course you can, yeah.
So, I'm a bit confused. Yeah. Well, I was so close to a question, I was getting excited that I was confused, but I could ask the question.
Oh,
great. So what you're saying though is that you would have to be able to sense the mid-tide to be able to invite our stillness. So that's what you're talking about. So if you're feeling that, but you're still sensing a lot of other things happening, that's then you're trying to invite that stillness.
The first place is your own body. Yeah, that is always a starting place. Can you feel that stillness settling in your own body? And can you feel it when you just sit down in your own practice? Can you find that place where you feel a connection to your midline? Can you find a place where you can settle under the waves on the mind? Can you find a place where you feel more at ease? Yeah, and that is the practice to start with. And then from that, you'll start to feel a tidal emotion arising. And then when you put your hands on somebody else, you'll go, whoa, now I can feel it. So it is very much that way around. Yeah, so there isn't a shortcut. Because if you feel it in yourself, you'll find it much easier to feel in another person. I don't think there is a shortcut. And it takes months, actually, being realistic. Yeah.
I think I should change. I don't know what you meant. Somebody. I confused. I know what you said.
They're actually the other way around. I was thinking, if you hang out with babies, they just are still. So no matter what you're doing, if you really, really let yourself resonate, you'll drop into those still places. Yeah, so good reason for hanging out with babies, because it's totally instinctual. I mean, they've just come out of the womb and they've been in this fluid and internally and externally surrounded in a very slow-moving environment. And that's where they are still. So if you're with them, that's what you feel. If you let yourself. I see people all the time whizzing around newborn babies, taking them to the supermarket and carrying on at the normal pace and wondering why the baby's agitated all the time. And, we educate people that the baby's nervous system is 4 times slower than the adult nervous system. It's not able to adapt to a normal pace, what is our normal pace for our nervous system. They hate fast, they can't orient, so they just cut out. So you actually have to move slower if you're around. And as soon as you slow down and you go into the slower rhythms, babies just go, oh, thank God for that. Now I can relax. Now the mum and dad are starting to relax. So most parents are pretty speedy around their newborns, and it doesn't help. So if you've got any friends with little ones, really little ones, just go and hang out with them, hold them, just sit with them, look at them, let them make eye contact with you. They'll take you into those profound places. They just do. Just wonderful. You'll look, just let them do that. Yeah.
I think that's why, parents out there can't do anything from us.
They're so slow.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. That's wonderful for a baby.
And it's good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more disturbing when parents aren't doing that.
Yeah.
And babies hate it and can't sleep. Yeah. But your husband's worried because he thinks, is she ever going to go out to the supermarket again? I've lost my wife, because your pace has dropped down to be so slow. Yeah. So you've experienced that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I tell people work.
Yeah.
When I have pretty women, they always say, look, a week in bed, a week on the couch, then think about going to the physical people you want to see. Because all around that.
Yeah.
Why?
It was traditional. It was 6 weeks, wasn't it? 6 weeks to not go out. Just hang out with baby and let them adjust to being out in the world. And then you give them such a gift, because then they're able to transition from that internal stillness to the world in a way where they feel safe. So they're actually much more oriented and secure if they're given that transition time. So we're working with that all the time. Yes, of course you can, yeah.
It's about still point. And this is an area that we use when someone is really lacking in resources. So you may not actually feel the time, but with accessing it in yourself and with the invitation, it's interesting to see how the system can still start to access that. And as it drops and can access a still point or partially, and then from there, the inhalation might start and the respiration might start. But this is one of the tools we use a lot with people who are very exhausted. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're sitting there waiting, is this the time? Is this into? This isn't that. Is. Then just go with, well, let's just invite. Yeah, and invite that in yourself, so there's that resonance in the field. Yeah.
And also where some of you felt yesterday, the tide starts and then it stops, and it starts and it stops. And that's the same too. It doesn't quite have the potency to move through the midline. So then just inviting it to still and settle, and it will gather that resources to and then you literally feel a surge starting to come through. And that's something also clinically to watch for, that when the system has really settled and become still, and the tide starts to come back, it will have more potency and power. You'll feel that surge much stronger. It has what we call more amplitude. So more force, more amplitude, more strength. It's not a sort of creeping its way up the spine, but it's a whoosh. Yeah. So the quality of the force of the flow tide is a clinical tool for how's the vitality of this person. Yeah, that's the strength of the connection to that core. And as you work together over the 2 years, your amplitude in your mid-tide will improve all the time. From doing sessions, you'll find yourself more vital, have more access to your resources, and the system will start to change. Yes, magic.
When you talk about
Inviting, how to... No, you actually do it 3 hands. Yeah. So it's literally, if you're not feeling a tidal fluctuation, then you literally just deepen into your own stillness and encourage that person's system to drop into stillness. And it's just through a subtle invitation through your hands. If you feel a tidal fluctuation, then you follow that exhalation down, that feeling receding down the spine. And just before the system comes back into an inhalation surge, you invite that stillness through your hands. Can you just still and deepen and flatten? So a very subtle intention from the practitioner.
with head.
Through your hands.
There was slight resistance.
Not even resistance, it's less than that. It's an invitation. We talk about it as it being an invitation. System is very, very responsive to you.
So instead of verbalizing it, there's an intention, and the intention comes as you receive the information, so you can give information. So you can verbalize internally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your intention, can you?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But it's not doing anything. It's just the intention. The energy follows intention.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And if the answer's no, then it'll just do what it was doing, carry on doing what it was doing. You go, no, I like being up here. And that will continue. So again, the next time, can you still and settle? And then eventually the system will drop. But if you feel a no, if you feel a resistance, then just let it go. But why not go into stillness and settling? It feels so good. Yeah, for most people, they feel this profound sense of relief when you make that invitation. Oh, thank goodness, I'm so grateful to feel this level of relaxation. So most people will actually really enjoy to go there. Yeah. So I think that's probably enough. So maybe I'll describe the session, and then we'll just take a little break. So so what I'd like you to do is work from the feet initially, and then the sacrum. Yeah. So again, it's really grounding. Tendency is we're going to do a lot of work in the next few seminars on the cranium, and can get activating sometimes if you work a lot on the cranium. So we'll always tend to work from the sacrum and the feet towards the end of the seminar, because it just helps everything ground and settle, ground and settle. So we start from the feet, in the usual way, and see from that place again if you can feel any sense of inhalation, exhalation, that mid-tide fluctuation. And then we'll come to the sacrum, and you might find you have to renegotiate your fulcrums when you come to the sacrum. For most of you this morning, when you moved from the occiput to the sacrum, you had to start all over again, and re-establish that. After a while, you find that you get really skilled with that, and you can move anywhere around the body, still hold that field, and still hold fulcrums. So that's something to think about when you're practicing. Can you move from the one hold to another hold and still be in the dance? So that you don't create ripples and go agitate things. So you literally can find a way of coming out and moving to a different hold and settling, and the system still feels really subtle. Some of you are really good, and for others of you it was like, I'll start all over again. Fulcrums, ground, settling. And the hold is still too. So bring your hand on the sacrum. Again, I think we mentioned briefly this morning, but just to reiterate the respect that you need when you put your hand on the sacrum. Anywhere in the body, but particularly the sacrum. Because there's so many issues around sexuality, maybe abuse issues. You really have to negotiate that contact with people, and really, give respectful space. It's some very, very powerful energies there, and there's also powerful potential healing there as well. Enormous healing reserves held in the sacral waterbeds. But the negotiation with the person is sometimes very delicate, especially the first time. Like, what are you doing? But once you settle, it feels wonderful. And really try and have your fingers pointing up the spine. Now, in the Upledger tradition, they tend to put the hand across the sacrum, which means that you don't really feel you're not able to be in contact with that tidal fluctuation. So you have your wrists are slightly tilted, and not too much, and then the fingertips pointing up the spine, so you can really be in contact with that tidal fluctuation. And then we're going to work with that inhalation, exhalation. At the end of exhalation, when the fluid tide is coming down towards you in the sacrum, the end of that exhalation, when just before the system potency starts to arise again, just encouraging stillness and settling through your hands with that subtle intention in your own, from your heart, and see what the system does with it. Mostly, by now, I imagine your body will just go, And then as you find yourself in that still place, just exploring the qualities of stillness as you sit in that still place. How does that resonate in you? What do you feel in your body? What's the quality of that stillness? Usually the quality of space that starts to arise from stillness. You feel more space, you feel more width, you feel more potential. Very nice. How many people have felt that already this week? I think most people have. That real depth of stillness. Everybody. So we're already exploring it. Right. Okay, lovely. People are a little bit tired, and it's understandable. It's out this week. So let's take 20-minute breaks. And